Hey guys, welcome to this edition of Scruff's Garage. So today I thought I would do just a quick review on the communicator system that I've been running on my helmet that I use when I go riding on my dual sport. I do some adventure rides around town, some single track kind of stuff. This is a brand called FodSports. This is the FX4 Pro. These are an inexpensive helmet communicator system that you can get on Amazon or maybe some other places. I think at the time these are probably somewhere in the $70, $75 range, which is significantly cheaper than some of the name brands like Sena or Cardo. So I thought it'd be worthwhile to talk for just a second about what you get from these inexpensive headsets. I've used this now for almost 2 years, and I've gone on several multi-day adventure rides with a number of different riders. I've done some riding around town by myself. First trip there was 2 of us, the next trip there was 3 of us, and the most recent trip, I just got back from doing the Smoky Mountain 500, there were 4 of us. And so I've used this in each of those settings with multiple riders. And there are some settings or some circumstances where this works really well, and there's some others that you'd probably be better off not using this. So this is Bluetooth. It comes with a little kit so that you can mount it to your helmet. It tucks in a couple of different ways to mount it. You can tuck it in, kind of clips on behind the pad. You can run the wiring for the speakers and for the little microphone. That's all pretty straightforward and would be common for most headset communicators. And then this clips on the side and it plugs in for the speaker. A couple of standout features. So it's Bluetooth, so you can sync it to your phone, or if you have a Garmin or any kind of GPS. I have a Garmin Zumo XT, I can sync it to that. So if I need it to give me turn-by-turn directions. From that perspective, typically not too hard to sync this via Bluetooth. So riding around town, typically my use case is just listening to music off of my phone. From that perspective, works great. The audio is loud enough for me. Like I said, now keep in mind I'm on a dual sport, so I would typically never be doing more than maybe 65 miles an hour. And for most of my riding, I prefer to be in the woods with it. Now if you're on a sport bike with really loud exhaust and you're doing much faster speeds, then how loud the speakers are is going to be sort of relative to how quiet your helmet is. So I just can't speak about those type of use cases where higher speeds, more wind noise. But for my use, I can hear the speakers just fine, no issue. So listening to music and that sort of thing works really, really well. Now on the first ride that I did, it was a couple of days. We did part of the New Jersey, Trans-New Jersey Trail. So it was me and a buddy, 2 of us. We synced, he had the same thing, we synced our headsets. Really easy to sync. The little instruction booklet they give you talks you through how to sync. They synced really easy, no problem with that. We talked to each other all day for 2 days, 8 hours a day, flawless, like no issue whatsoever, money well spent. Battery life on this in that kind of use case, it lasts all day long. Like I said, I didn't recharge it. If you start with a full charge, it will last all day, no problem. The next ride that we did, there were 3 of us. So the way that works, if you want to sync all 3 of them, the unit in the middle, so picture you have 3 units, A, B, and C. B becomes the bridge unit. So A is connected to B, and C is connected to B. Now still in that case, they all stayed connected to each other all day, no problem at all. We had great communication. The noise canceling on the microphone works well, so you're not getting a ton of wind noise. You'll get a little bit, but not a ton. We could hear each other clearly, really no issue with that. The one drawback is the unit in the middle, the bridge unit. So in this case, connector B, it drains the battery much faster. So A and C lasted all day, no issue. Unit B ended up running out midday, so it would not last for an entire day's ride. So that was what I would say the beginning of the end with with this, and we'll talk about this more in a second, but that was sort of the drawback, that when you have 3 people, it kills the middle person much faster. Though the communication piece of it worked great. Then, like I said, I just got back last week from doing the Smoky Mountain 500, and we keep bringing more and more people with us. So this time we had 4 riders. We're all using the FodSport. So the way that works, so we have unit A, B, C, and D. Units B and C are the bridge units, so they're connected to each other. Then unit A is connected to B, and D is connected to C. And so that's how the bridge connects. And sitting in the hotel room the night before, we're all sitting there with our helmets on, we got them to sync up, no problem. The next morning, we get on the bikes, we're headed out, and almost immediately we started having connectivity problems. And for the next 3 days, we just ran into nonstop problems. I'd say maybe only 25% of the time did we have all 4 people connected at the same time. And even once we got everybody connected, you'd be riding along and all of a sudden it would drop out for seemingly no reason. I'm sure there's some reason behind the scenes about why it dropped a connectivity, but it would kind of revert back to A and B being connected and C and D would be connected. But we struggled to keep the connection, to keep all 4 of them together. So while it can do up to 4 riders, it did not perform well in my opinion. And so the group is of the opinion now that we've gotten back as we plan future rides, we're all going to spend the money to go to one of the mesh network systems from somebody like Cardo or Senna. Now those are significantly more expensive. You'll easily be into the $300, $360 range, which is well outside the price point of this. So that's really not a criticism of the FodSport. It's just the reality. If you're trying to run multiple people connected to each other, this didn't do that great. If it's just you and one other person, whether they're riding on the bike with you or just another rider who's out with you, 2 people, this worked perfect all day long. Great communication, money well spent. 3 people, it worked well, but like I said, it killed the battery for the person in the middle. So depending on the length of your ride, like I said, our rides are multi-day, all day long. So it started coming up short. And then once we tried to get 4 people connected, it was just problematic. We wasted so much time sitting on the side of the trail just trying to get our helmets connected. And so that was frustrating. And the bridge units in the middle, it also kills the batteries much faster. So then we were trying to hook up little charging banks to put in your pocket and plug into the communicator to keep it alive. And it was just more of a hassle than it was worth. Like most of them, communication is sort of limited to line of sight. Now, we're in the mountains, so you get some of the switchbacks going around the mountain. If you're not too far apart, they will still connect, even if you can't necessarily see each other. But pretty quickly, you'll start getting static and noise and that sort of thing. Same thing in traffic. I'm sure they have a rating for how far, even if you can see each other, maybe a quarter of a mile, and then you'll start getting some static. Now, generally speaking, if you're riding with other people, you're not going to be that far apart. So, and even if you got a little too far, but then come back together, it typically reconnected okay. So not a huge problem, but just something to be mindful of depending on the type of riding that you're going to do. One other thing, and it's not really how I have used the unit, you can make phone calls if it's paired to your phone. You're supposed to be able to press the button and answer phone calls if they're coming in or hang up and that sort of thing. I've only used it for answering a phone call like maybe once in the past couple of years. I can't really speak to that very well other than it worked sort of okay, and then in some other instances hitting the button didn't seem to want to answer the phone call even though it was paired. So some of those type of features maybe don't work the best, but when it was connected and I could talk on the phone call, the other person generally couldn't tell that I was on a motorcycle riding. So the noise canceling in the microphone actually seems to work pretty well. So I hope that helps. Just a really quick review on the FodSport FX Pro. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments below. I'll answer whatever I can. As always, thanks for tuning in to this edition of Scruff's Garage. I'll see you next time.